The first event to ever put Wilton on the map was something called the Battle of Wilton. This was an incident in the little-known back-and-forth conflict called King William's War between the English and the French for control of the fur trade in the province of New York. In 1690, the French, at the command of Count Frontenac, launched an attack in the Mohawk Valley, which culminated in the burning of the Schenectady Stockade, killing and capturing a number of Dutch and English inhabitants. 3 years later, Frontenac decided to attack the Mohawks with the aid of a guide captured in the Schenectady massacre, Jean-Baptiste Van Epps. The Mohawks were caught off guard by the French, who took 300 of them as captives. Meanwhile, Van Epps had escaped before the attacks and warned Major Peter Schuyler, the commander of the Albany County Militia. On February 13th, Schuyler crossed the Mohawk on the ice with a force of 237 men and began to pursue the retreating French. On February 15th, he was joined by 290 Mohawks who had escaped capture by the French. The two forces came together on the east side of the Palmerton Range. Wilton town historian Gene Waters picks up the story from there.
The big event was the big battle on snowshoes. The Indians and the French were coming from Montreal, and they were coming down into this area, into the Schenectady and Albany area, where there were stockades. Peter Schuyler was one of the Army officers at that time, and he got word of this raid that these people were on. They followed them up to what is now Stiles Corners, King Station now. They've all changed their names, of course. But it was on the east-west Indian Trail. And so they had a 3-day battle on snowshoes because the snow was deep and such. They made like a little fort. During the night, French and Indians decided that they would leave. They would go home. They had all of these captives, and it was really a detriment to them because it was a burden. So they traveled out in the night before the British could figure it out.
The total casualties were 4 Albany militiamen and 4 Indians killed, and 12 men wounded on one side, and 33 French killed, including their commander and several officers, and a number wounded on the other. 50 Mohawk captives were rescued.
The town then became populated because of the north and south and east and west Indian trails.
This Battle of Wilton was critical because even though it was a wilderness at the time, Wilton represented an important junction. There, the north-south trail through Lake George and Lake Champlain into Canada crossed an east-west trail, which ended at the Hudson River at Schuylerville, guarded only by a blockhouse and a few Dutchmen. The French fort was situated at the eastern end of the pass through the Palmerton Range, of which Mount McGregor is a part. More than 80 years later, this same trail route would be used by British troops as they sought to divide the colonies at the Battle of Saratoga in 1777.